Hi, good morning. It's Monday. I guess we're seeing a little bit of a trend here, doing the episodes on Mondays. I kind of like Mondays. It starts out my week nicely, although last Monday it took me all day to do the videos, so I'm hoping the podcast doesn't take me all day today. I'd like to get into the studio a little bit if I can. But I might not try to do it all in one day because it is kind of a process, as you probably know. If you are new to my podcast, I'm LoreleiEurto. I am a jewelry designer who knits in her free time, and this podcast will be about knitting and mostly knitting today. I don't really have too much to share as far as jewelry, but you never know. I am feeling a little off today. I do have one thing you don't know about me. I do have a heart condition that started up about 4 or 5 years ago. It's called atrial fibrillation, or I don't know. The short term is AFib. And some days my heart kind of skips a beat, if you will. And I feel a little bit, well, anyway, sometimes I wake up with it, and that's what happens this morning. So it just means I feel really drained, and when I got out of bed I felt like I was going to pass out, so I got the sweats and everything. And so I just took the morning and like really just relaxed on the couch. I did a lot of knitting, and I caught up on some of my favorite podcasts, and it was a good morning. And anyway, today is February 29th, and the weather here in central New York State is very dreary. It's raining. It's very dark. It feels almost like this is like 6 o'clock when it should be. Well, when it's actually like 9:35, it just feels really dark and gloomy. That doesn't really help my mood today, unfortunately. But I do have a lot of things to show you, and I'm excited about that, so let's move on to the knitting. Alright, I'm back. So I am drinking some tea today. This is a Tazo Wild Sweet Orange. It's one of my new favorites, and I'm drinking it in this really cute mug that I got at TJ Maxx, actually. It's a perfect day for tea. And the orange is so nice and bright. It's helping my mood a little bit. So let's see. Finished objects. I don't have any this week, but I have some that I wanted to show you from the past. So these things are things that I have finished in the last year, and I don't know that I'll show them to you chronologically, but first I'll show you the one I'm wearing. All of these shawls and knitted FOs can be found on my Ravelry page. I'm on Ravelry at LoreleiEurto, and if you want to check out my jewelry, you can go to my website, LoreleiEurto.com, or LoreleiEurtoJewelry.com. I'm also on Etsy as LoreleiEurtoJewelry.etsy.com. I'm on Facebook as LoreleiEurto. Yeah, so anyway, if you want any more details than what I can remember, because this podcast is completely unscripted, but I have no show notes or anything, so if you want to know more about what I used in case I can't remember, you can look on my Ravelry page. So anyway, this shawl, this shawl is called the Easy Peasy shawl, and actually the pattern that I bought on Etsy, or it might have been a free pattern, I can't remember now. What the pattern showed the shawl all in one color, but I wanted to experiment with some color work, so I used 2 colors. So basically it's an enormous, which I love about it, an enormous triangular shawl with sections of stockinette and lace, and I used the ivory color is Berroco, a Berroco yarn, and I cannot remember the kind, unfortunately, sorry. And I also used Malabrigo, and I think this might be Rios in the Arco Iris colorway. And this was kind of my first try at doing lace, and there are some screw-ups, of course. If you look real closely, there's some issues, but it's fine. I like it. It's for myself. I wear it a lot. I like to wear it as a shawl, just kind of draped over my shoulders. It's nice on the couch when I'm knitting or whatever for a little extra warmth. And I'm loving the colors. It's really great. So anyway, this is a great pattern. Really fun, really easy. It went fairly quickly. It took me about 2 weeks, I think, to knit this up. So there's that. I'm going to leave that on while I show you my 3-color cashmere cowl from Joji Locatelli. Loved this project so much. Mine's a little wide. I think it's because I used a sport weight. I used Plucky Knitter, which is the green and the pink. And then I used, well, I'll put all this info in the show notes. I usually do pretty detailed show notes, so you'll be able to find that stuff there. But well, I believe this is a yarn that I got in the Fiberista Club. And I can't remember the name of it at the moment, but I loved knitting this pattern. And I'm really excited to join in the Grocery Girls knit along for the 3-color cashmere shawl because, oh my god. But I really want Plucky Knitter yarn, and there is a Plucky Knitter update this morning. I can't even look. I cannot spend any more money on yarn for the next couple of weeks because I'm out of control. I don't know how all you podcasters aren't like completely broke, because I am. Because I watch every one of your podcasts and I'm like the worst at falling ill or kind of getting sucked into the yarn recommendations. Oh, it's such a bad habit. It's so bad. Hopefully I can rein it in. So yeah, that's my 3-color cashmere cowl. I wear that all the time too, by the way. This is another shawl. This I used Quince Company yarn, and it's a nice little long asymmetrical ruffled edge shawl. Love this one. So one of my favorite pieces that I've ever knit. Ever. I believe I used Turn. Quince Company Turn. And of course, I know one of the colors is Sedum, and the other one, I forget. But like I said, I'll link it all in the show notes. But these are all in my Ravelry page too, if you want to check out the projects there. And you can see probably better pictures and representations of what these look like. But this looks really cute, all wrapped up around a couple times, and where you can kind of see the ruffle. I loved doing the ruffle. And I believe the pattern is by Melanie Berg, if I remember correctly. She is one of my favorites. And then another Joji Locatelli. This is the way from Brighton. And I just love this one. I just love it. I love the fringe. I wanted to do one in every color. This was a great pattern that features short rows, so if you've ever wanted to try short rows, I recommend this pattern. It's really nice and easy. This was a very quick knit. I used a DK weight yarn, and the yarn is actually from Scandanavian Weave-In Knit, who had a booth at Rhinebeck, which I think that's where I bought this, was at Rhinebeck, at their booth. But they also do like a local craft show up here near me in the lower Adirondack area. Anyway, this was a great yarn to use for this. Got a nice drape, and I just love the fringe. The fringe, the bobbles, took a while. I have to admit, it did take a while, because actually you do this whole row of bobbles first. That's the very first thing you do. And then you start knitting your short rows across the bottom there, and then you only have to do a bobble fringe every 4 or 5 rows or something like that. So once you get past this section's pretty quick. But anyway, I wear this all the time. I just absolutely love it, and highly recommend that pattern. And probably all patterns by Joji. She is amazing, and I want to knit all of the things from her. So those are finished objects. I'm going to move on to what's on my needles. So I just watched that back, and I just want to apologize for how scattered that seemed with no details, and you're probably all watching like, what? How am I supposed to knit that when you don't know what yarn you used? I apologize. That's pretty shoddy podcasting if you ask me, but you know what? It's okay. We all have those days, and that's just one of the kind of days I'm having today, so it's cool. You know what? I kind of like the off-the-fly stuff, but if I swear accidentally, don't judge me, because it happens. Shit happens. So, okay, so let's move on to what's on my needles. I'll show you my vest first. So I got a new bag. This is Mrs. Brown's Bags. And this Gasly's print is one of my favorites that I've ever seen so far. Look at the black cats. I have 2 black cats, by the way, if you're new. And that's why I love this to death. My cats don't look as mean and ratty as these cats, but I just loved it anyway. It's so fun. Mrs. Brown's bags are really nice. I'm really, really, really happy with this bag. It's the perfect size for a shawl. It's got her little signature fringy leather tassel, which I love, which removes actually, and you can use this as a progress keeper. How cool is that? She thinks of all the things, I'm telling you. In here I am housing my Pineland shawl, or I'm sorry, it's not a shawl, it's my vest, my Pineland vest. This is from Elizabeth Smith, and it's going really well. I must say, I'm very excited about this project. I have gotten pretty far on it, as you can see. I'm moving right along now, and this morning I was excited because I was able to get to the part where I started binding off for the armholes, and it's going really well. I watched a video on YouTube, and I watched it and did it. It was easy peasy. So the only thing that's fiddly is working on the circulars while I'm now working on just the left front. So I have a ways to go on this part, but I want to do this so that the needle doesn't fall out. So this is the side I'm working on now. So I'm just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then I can move on to the other side or maybe the back. I don't know what's next. And I stopped because I'm at the point where I have to switch to another skein of yarn, and I actually have to wind them up because I only wound, I think, 2 or 3 to start. Maybe 2. This is just 2. So this weighs like 100 pounds, unfortunately. It's really heavy, and I just think that it's the yarn. It's so dense. This yarn is Mrs. Crosby Steamer Trunk, and it's so dense. It looks really nice knit up. It really does. And so, you know, it's a vest, so I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be great for the spring, maybe even with a little short sleeve or quarter-length sleeve tee underneath it. So I am so excited. It's coming right along, and I can't wait to show you more progress on that next time I talk to you in the next episode. So in the meantime, that's living in my Mrs. Brown's bag. I just love it, Jodi. If you're watching, thank you so much. It's awesome. And I also want to say one more thing about Jodi's shop. Jodi's Etsy shop. When this came, it took a little while because obviously I live in New York State and she lives in Canada. It took a couple weeks. But when I got it, I felt like I was opening a present. That is awesome. It was wrapped so beautifully and tied up, and there were little extras, little candies, and a little stitch marker, and what else did she send? I have it on my desk. A bunch of little extra freebies that were super special, so I just wanted to say thank you for that. If you haven't ordered from Jodi's shop yet, please do soon, because she's always got something new going on, and I absolutely love that she is kind of designing bags inspired by knitting podcasters, which is so cool. I mean, how awesome is that? Like Eric from Sticks Plus Twine has a bag, and Andy from AndreSueKnits has a bag, and I just loved her. I just love that. I love her bags. The fact that Jodi did research and found out how to photograph knitting and then transfer it to fabric, that is brilliant. I don't care what you say, that is brilliant. And yeah, so that's that project. I could gush the rest of the episode about these people, but I won't. I'm gonna move on. So I'm gonna show you my next project. Now this is super special because I have a new friend. Her name is Abby. She is a podcaster. You have to check out her podcast. It's called LongRoadHome. And Abby is from Staten Island, which I didn't realize. So hi, fellow New Yorker. Staten Island. I'm gonna have to take a trip, I think. A little trip to Staten Island. I've never been to Staten Island. Or we can meet up in New York City, which I haven't been yarn shopping in New York City, but I would love to. Maybe when it gets a little warmer out, I will plan a trip and we can get together. Well, anyway, I was watching her podcast. She was talking about how she was going to do a Quince Company shawl, and she had one picked out called Piper's Journey. And I said, I have Chickadee, which is the sport weight for Quince Company. I said, I can knit that with you. And so we are knitting it together. Yay! So anyway, I'm knitting mine on the Belize colorway. It's a beautiful aqua blue color. Love it. And I love how this yarn knits up. It's just amazing. If you haven't like knit anything with it, definitely give it a shot. It's really nice. And it blocks out perfectly. So right now it's looking a little wonky. It's not going to be a very big shawl, I can tell, which is okay because I kind of like that short shawlette type or kind of kerchief type of style. And the thing that I love about this pattern, it's actually mostly garter rows, and then it's got an applied lace border which you knit on. And the thing that's awesome about this is that this is my bound off edge already. So when I get done with this applied edge all the way down the shawl, I will be done with the shawl. That's amazing. I love that. I love that. I want to find all of the projects on Ravelry now that have an applied knit border. I think that's amazing. So much better than having to bind off, which I think is dreadful sometimes. So yeah, it's got a really cool lacy border, and this project is a-okay by me. And I think I definitely want to do host my own knit along down the road. I mean, I don't have a Ravelry group yet or whatever because I don't have enough viewers, I don't think, on my podcast. But eventually maybe I will. And maybe I'll have a Ravelry group for knit and beads. Oh yeah, did I mention this is the Knits and Beads? This is Knits and Beads podcast, and I'm your host, LoreleiEurto. That should have been at the beginning, but it's not. It's in the middle. What are you gonna do? Anyway, I have some ideas brewing on a knit along, and one thing that you might not know about me, and then I'm going to tell you about me now, is that I am in love with the 80s. I watch that show, The Goldbergs, on TV. I don't know if you've seen that sitcom. It is hilarious. It is all about the 80s and I love it. I love the 80s. When I was in the 80s, I was growing up in the 80s. I was, in 1987, I was in the 7th grade. I graduated from high school in 1992. So through my junior years, 7th and 8th and 9th grade, which those are tough years if you remember correctly. My husband teaches 7th grade. 7th grade's tough. I mean, 7th graders are hard on each other. They're mean. Girls can be really nasty. So when I was living it, 1987, I wasn't enjoying it very much. But now looking back on it, there are many aspects of the 80s that I really love, like the trends and the styles and whatever. So I'm thinking that a knit along for a knit along with that idea of I love the 80s would be really fun, because think of all the things you could do. You could knit leg warmers. You can be inspired by the music of the 80s or the movies of the 80s. I mean, come on, 16 candles. Are you kidding? Like, I can think of a million things I would want to knit right now, but I'm not going to. Moving on. So, if you are interested in an I Love the 80s knit along, let me know. Leave comments. I would be anxious to hear if anybody has any thoughts on that for a future Knits and Beads podcast knit along. I don't know. Maybe no one's digging it. Maybe it's just me. But that's cool. You know, what else? So I'm going to move on and show you some new yarn in new acquisitions. Yeah, so remember how I said that I need to rein it in? This is why. This bag is almost full of yarn. I have a serious problem. My name is LoreleiEurto, and I'm addicted to buying yarn. My God. All right, so first I'll show you what I got at Madeline Tosh. So I went on the Madeline Tosh website, and they have great yarn on there that you don't really see in all of the other big chain stores online, like Jimmy Bean's Wool and all that. They have kind of their own colorways there, which is dangerous. But look what I found. Oh my God. Okay, it's called Found Pottery. How perfect of a name is that? I just absolutely cannot believe how beautiful this yarn is. Speckles, rainbow speckles. This is a DK weight. It's 80-10-10, so it's 80% superwash merino wool, which I hear a lot of people don't have very nice things to say about superwash, but I think this feels nice. I mean, I think it's soft. 10% cashmere. Yeah, no wonder it's soft, I guess. Maybe if it was just superwash merino, maybe it wouldn't be as soft. And 10% nylon. DK weight is probably one of my favorite weights to work with. And this is 250 yards. 229 meters. So I got that. So just 3 skeins. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet. I just was in love with it. I also got some blue. And the color of this is perfect too. It's called Favorite Pair. Favorite Pair of blue jeans. It's like the perfect blue jean color I've ever seen in my life. Isn't that great? This is a Long Rider DK. So this is 75% merino and 25% nylon. But I think it's just as soft as the other one, really. Maybe a little less soft, but pretty soft to the touch. I kind of like them together, but I don't know. Maybe I'll use them together. Who knows? Who knows? It's anybody's guess. Then I have a great story about this shop. Okay, so niceandknit.com I found out about through Chelsea of LegacyKnits podcast. Chelsea used Nice and Knits yarn for one of her shawl patterns that she was working on from, I believe, a homespun house. And so I started doing some research on this Nice and Knit company. I kind of figured that since Chelsea and Sue live in Connecticut, that maybe it was a local yarn store to them. So I go on Facebook and I look up Nice and Knit. Not only is the store in Connecticut, which is where my husband is from, it is in the town that my sister-in-law lives. No, I'm not kidding. So I sent a message to the Nice and Knit folks through Messenger on Facebook, and I said, I noticed that you're from Tolland, Connecticut. I said, whereabouts, and do you have a store? Because my sister-in-law lives there and I want to come and visit you. And I got a response right away, and she said, hi, thanks for writing. She was like, yeah, sometimes we have a pop-up shop in Ellington, Connecticut, which is where my husband graduated from high school, by the way. And, but she's like, anytime you want to come by, let us know and we'll open the studio for you. So I'm like, that is so cool. I said, oh my God, Ellington. I wrote her back and I said, are you from that area? I was like, well, my sister-in-law lives on Plains Road, and I said, do you happen to know the Yurtos or the bosses? And she wrote back, and I just could not believe what she said. So apparently one of Joe's best friends from high school is married to one of the girls from Nice and Knit, Katie. Isn't that amazing? Like, I don't know. I just was like, I'm definitely ordering yarn now from there. It's beautiful. The yarn is beautiful. I'll show it to you. So I picked out some sport weight. This is 100% superwash merino, and this is 328 yards. And this is their Anchor colorway, so it's a beautiful blue. I'm in love with blue lately. I haven't really knit anything in blue, so I'm excited to, I guess I'm hoarding all the blue at the moment, but love this. Got 2 skeins of that. And I also ordered a skein of fingering yarn. This is their fingering yarn, and this is called Kelp. It's the most perfect bright green, kelpy green color you've ever seen in your life. This is 490 yards, so awesome. And I would probably pair this with some other fingering weight in a shawl or something. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. I don't have any plans yet, but I'll figure something out. And when I got their package, which came immediately, by the way, like it took 2 days, she sent me this awesome tote and another skein of yarn. I'll tell you what, people, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to make a customer happy. And a little extra skein of yarn, I was giddy. I could not wait for Joe to come home to show him what I had gotten and to tell him the whole story about Nice and Knit people. And anyway, they sent me Surf, and this is their fingering weight, which actually goes perfectly with Kelp. Go figure. It is gorgeous yarn. Oh my God, the hand dyed, oh, all the colors of green in this is just beautiful. This is 490 yards, superwash merino. 100%. 100% awesome is what I have to say about that. That's it for yarn. What else do I have to say about that? If you're interested in doing a knit along, I am participating in the Quince Along, which I believe is being hosted by TheFawnKnits podcast, and I'm going to enter my Piper's Journey shawl in that. And I also believe there's a Shawl Along going on, but I have to look at who is hosting that. I forget, but I'll put it in the down bar. And I am definitely going to do the 3 Color Cashmere Shawl Along with the Grocery Girls. So you can go to their podcast to find out more info on that, or their podcast group, which I believe is called the Grocery Girls Podcast. and that starts not right away, I think, in a little bit. So that's all I've got. That's it. I hope you guys have a really great week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm excited to show you some of my new skills as far as video editing goes. Hopefully it won't be as choppy as the last episode. And now I know how to edit and put in text and everything, so that could be fun. I'm sorry I don't have any jewelry to talk about today. I'm just going to work in the studio and make some stuff, and I post all of my jewelry, in case you're wondering about jewelry updates, and I post new jewelry in my shops almost every day, Monday through Friday, and I usually post pictures on Facebook first. So if I were you, I would follow me on Facebook if you were interested in seeing new jewelry first, because some stuff sells pretty quickly. Some stuff even sells directly from Facebook. So go ahead and friend me. I'm LoreleiEurto on Facebook. And then usually pictures show up on Instagram, and then they get uploaded to my stores, and I usually list in one of two places, either my Etsy store or my web store, which is on my website. Anyway, thanks for coming over and chilling with me, and I hope you all have a fantastic knitty week, and I'll talk to you maybe next week. Bye-bye. Bye for now.